When you picture ancient Rome, what comes to mind? Probably the big stuff, right? The Colosseum, legions marching across the map, all-powerful emperors. But the story of how Rome became that empire, well, it's one of the most incredible political thrillers in all of history. So let's dive in and explore this transformation. How did a republic of citizens become an empire ruled by just one man?
When you see these incredible ruins today, it's easy to think emperors built all this. But not at first. These were the heart of something totally revolutionary. A government built on an idea of freedom. Freedom from kings. It was an idea called the Republic.
This system was designed to last forever, a government of the people. But in less than 500 years, it completely collapsed into civil war and gave way to an emperor. So the big question is, how did it all go so spectacularly wrong?
To understand how the Republic fell, we first have to understand why it was even created. And for that, we've got to go back, way back, to its legendary beginnings.
The story the Romans told about themselves was pretty epic. They believed they were descended from the god of war himself. This whole founding myth of Romulus and Remus gave Rome the sense, right from the very beginning, that it was destined for greatness.
For its first couple of centuries, Rome was a monarchy. But this whole period ended with a king so cruel, so arrogant, that his name, Tarquin the Proud, became a warning, a kind of boogeyman for generations of Romans.
And this right here, this is the crucial moment. The Romans didn't just get a new king, they overthrew the entire system. They made a collective vow to be a free people, and to do that, they invented a whole new form of government, the Republic.
Okay, so they got rid of kings. What did they replace them with? Let's take a look at how this new Roman Republic was actually supposed to work.
You have to understand, the core concept was a total game changer for its time. Power wasn't inherited, it was given by the citizens who could vote for their leaders. It's an idea that would echo down through history and shape many of the governments we have today.
The real genius of their system was how they divided power. To stop another tyrant from ever taking over, they replaced the king with two consuls, who can only serve for 1 year. Then you had the powerful Senate, which represented the wealthy aristocrats, and various assemblies to give regular citizens a voice. It was this whole complex system of checks and balances, all designed to keep any one person from getting too much control.
But here's the catch. Power to the people didn't exactly mean all people. Roman society was pretty much split in two. You had the patricians, the small class of wealthy landowning families, and then you had everybody else, the plebeians. This deep division would become a fault line, shaking the Republic for its entire existence.
For centuries, this system worked, more or less. Rome grew from a single city to the master of the Mediterranean. But as it got bigger and richer, the very foundations of the Republic began to crack under the strain.
Think about it. As Rome conquered new lands, huge amounts of wealth flowed back to the city, but it mostly went to the rich patricians. The gap between the super-rich and the poor grew into a giant chasm. Two brothers, the Gracchi, tried to push for reforms to help the poor, but this was a direct threat to the wealthy senators, and for their trouble, both brothers were murdered by mobs. This was a huge turning point. Political disputes were now being settled with clubs and daggers, kicking off a century of civil wars.
Into this chaos, into this fracturing republic, steps one of the most famous figures in all of history. A man whose ambition and brilliance would push Rome right past the point of no return.
Caesar was a master politician and a genius general. He knew he couldn't take power alone, so he formed an alliance with two other powerful men. This triumvirate, or three-man rule, basically just bypassed the traditional Senate to run Rome themselves.
So Caesar spends years conquering Gaul, modern-day France, which made him incredibly wealthy and, more importantly, gave him a loyal, battle-hardened army. Back in Rome, the Senate, led by his former ally Pompey, grew terrified of his popularity and power. They issued an ultimatum: disband your army and come home.
Caesar faced a choice: obey the Senate and face his political enemies powerless, or defy them and plunge the Republic into another civil war. He chose war. By crossing the Rubicon River with his army, he committed an act of treason from which there was no turning back.
After defeating Pompey, Caesar returned to Rome not as a general, but as its absolute master. He was named dictator for life. And here's the paradox. He enacted a lot of popular reforms. He created jobs, gave land to soldiers, expanded citizenship. The common people loved him for it. But every single reform also served to consolidate all power into his own hands.
The senators, who still believed in the old republic, saw Caesar's absolute power as the return of that tyranny they had sworn off centuries before. They decided the only way to save the republic was to kill the man who was strangling it. And on the Ides of March, they did it. They cornered him in the Senate itself and stabbed him to death. But the great irony is that in trying to kill a tyrant and restore the republic, all they really did was accelerate its final collapse.
Caesar's death didn't restore anything. It just created a power vacuum. A new, brutal civil war erupted. After 13 years of fighting, the ultimate victor was Caesar's young, adopted son, Octavian. He defeated his last rival, Mark Antony, and emerged as the sole, unchallenged ruler of the Roman world. And in 27 BCE, the Senate gave him the title Augustus, or Exalted One. The Republic was officially dead. The Roman Empire had begun.
So the Republic was gone, replaced by the rule of one man. But what followed was 2 centuries of relative peace and stability known as the Pax Romana, or the Roman peace. And during this time, the empire built things on a scale the chaotic republic could only dream of.
They engineered thousands of miles of incredibly durable roads, creating a network that tied their vast empire together. These roads were essential for moving legions quickly, but they also became arteries for trade and communication, spreading Roman culture everywhere. They built these breathtaking aqueducts, some stretching for dozens of miles, that carried fresh water into their cities. It was just an incredible testament to their engineering mastery and a commitment to public works that improved life for millions. And of course, they built these monumental entertainment venues like the Colosseum. It was a marvel of architecture, for sure, but it was also a tool of the state, used to distract and control the population of Rome with free, spectacular, and often brutal games.
Ultimately, the fall of the Republic was a trade-off. Romans lost their political freedoms, but in exchange, they gained stability, peace, and prosperity on an unprecedented scale. It's an ancient dilemma that's still so relevant today. What is more valuable, freedom or order? It's something to think about.